Previously on The Devil on G-string.
カノンみたいに才能がありそうな選手はよ、連合の指示でそれまで世話になった地元の先生から時期を見て大抵海外の実績あるコーチに移籍させられるんだよ。
Oh, is that what happens?
でもよ、ガキの頃からずっとお世話になってたわけだろ。カノンの場合は金崎一子か、愛があるわけだよ。
I get it. She's no longer her coach, but they can't just up and get rid of her. Wow, Yukiko sure has it hard. Her job was suddenly stolen from her. Is there a financial reason behind this? Well, I suppose it doesn't matter. If you intend to lend your ears and heed my warning, force her to throw the upcoming NHK trophy. Otherwise, a new sacrifice will be taken at 9 o'clock, the night of the last day. One piece of advice. I doubt that I need to worry, but in the event that you inform the state of this, my retaliation will be severe and relentless. P.S. I use those stock certificates as tissues. Mau. I lowered my head and finished reading alongside Usami.
どう感じた？
やけに汚い字ですね。浅井さんはこの事件をどう見ますか？
What do I think? I considered it for a second. Well, we're talking about a pre-murder notice here. I guess I'm mainly just worried about Kanon.
カノンはどこに住んでるんですか？
It's a place near the arena.
お母さん、育子さんと二人暮らしですか？
Why do you ask?
カノンはお父さんであるゴンゾーさんと一緒に暮らしていないことに何の疑問も感じていないんですか？
I'm not sure. I don't think she's entirely unconcerned about it, but she's never mentioned it before.
ゴンゾーさんが暴力団の親分であることも知らないんですか？
I don't think she knows. Or maybe she just doesn't care.
カノンは変わった子ですね。
You too, Usami. Look, I know next to nothing about my father. I don't want to know.
面会にも行ってないのかい？
In my ears, these words were Dr. Akimoto reprimanding me. In my heart, I heard his screams calling me an unfilial son. Not even once. My heart was beating too fast to support life. No, I did go once with Mother, when I was a child, but I didn't say anything.
お父さんになぜあんなことをしたのか聞いてみたいとは思わなかったのかい？
I was silent.
京介くん。
I stopped talking and made an effort to freeze my heart. My mind wandered back to the beautiful snow dancing beyond the window of that dilapidated home my mother and I once lived in together. How can I stop Mau's violent acts? It still doesn't really feel like any danger is approaching. Maybe my determination to catch Mau just isn't as strong as that of Gonzo or Usami. I wonder why. Even though one person has already been killed, my sense of justice hasn't been provoked. Maybe I'd only feel uneasy if someone near me was hurt. Yet if it really came to that, it would already be too late. He called himself Azai, but had added, just call me Mau. Mau announced that he had killed a man. He'd pushed him down a staircase. He'd hidden himself in an obscure place, waited for him to come back home, and shoved the man when he wasn't looking. Even though the methods weren't complex, as long as there weren't any witnesses, it would be hard to place it as anything but an accident. Mephistopheles asked him why that man had been marked for death. He liked the answer. Because he was a homosexual. Mephistopheles shared that belief. Great Japan has no need for such weaklings.
瀬田さんはインタビューで私のことをライバルだと言った。そんなこと考えてるから勝てないの。余計なこと考えたらダメなの。私は 普通の学園生であることを求めなかったし、パパが怖い人なのもどうでもいいの。パパと母さんが一緒に暮らしていないのも理由があるんだろうけど、あえて聞かないの。ショックを受けてる暇なんてないから。兄さんもそう。いろいろ隠し事があるみたいだけど、聞かれたくなさそうだから私も興味を持たないの。どうすれば得点が伸びるのか、私はそれだけを考えてる。
That emotionless speech forced my posture to straighten. Those powerful, daunting eyes resembled another pair I'd seen somewhere. They were sighs of admiration, gasps of astonishment. The sounds of praise, the lot of them, yet born out of awe, bordering on fear. Absolutely bewitching. On the screen, Kanon's visage was visited by a ghostly aura. The girl in that image would kill any foe who dared to turn his blade against the gods.
なんだ。
There was no response. Perhaps he had mentioned something that angered Maul. Perhaps he had an idea of who that girl was.
ぜひ
After a long silence, Maul spoke quietly, almost to himself.
ぜひ殺してください。
Mephistopheles sensed murderous intent from those words, though only for an instant.
その少女こそあるいは最大の敵です。
And so it continues. Greetings, my name is Neosekken, and welcome back to my Let's Play The Devil on G-String. So, Kanon's back, and I'm still sitting here, worried for her dear old mommy dearest, and now, Usami. Although, thinking about it now, I guess Usami is pretty capable, and capable in a lot of ways, so maybe if Crazy attacker were to come her way, she'd be able to handle herself just fine. But Kanon herself, her mother, I don't really feel quite that confident about them. Either way, things are getting very interesting to say the least. Anyway, yeah, you're back. Hi. For an athlete, you sure do walk slow. It's been almost an hour since the tournament ended for the day.
コーチとお話しして、ちょっと調整して、その後インタビューとかしてたら遅くなった。
Sounds exhausting. She had a blank look on her face as she threw her bags on the sofa.
兄さん、何してたの？魚臭いよ。
Probably making something involving fish, if I had to guess. I'm cooking. And yes, it is fish. Ha! Called it. I must have a truly impoverished nature. I bought 10 sari from the... Sari? Sauri? It's been a long time since I've even read that word. From the supermarket just because they were on sale.
のんちゃんもう食べたよ。
That's alright. We'll eat it tomorrow then. As for the rest, I'll give it to Tsubaki. She lives close by after all. Why not give it to Usami? You know, the girl who is supposedly living in abject poverty. Least relatively speaking. Compared to you. And last I checked, she also lives relatively close by too. I made some coffee while talking to Kanon, who was lazily stretched out on the sofa. Today was amazing.
何が？
You were.
演技が？そう？
She zoned out for a little bit. You took first place effortlessly. There were a full 20 points between you and that Russian in second place.
ああ、そうだっけ？じゃあそれなりだね。
She doesn't seem to have any interest in her opponents. Ouch. What are your thoughts on today, then?
はい。結果に満足せずに精進したいと思います。
That's just a line you memorized for the camera.
本当にそう思うんだよ。だって NKH 杯は外国の選手も来るけど、世界で一番強い人が集まるわけじゃないもの。
Wait, it was a piece of cake for you because you were only up against small fries?
そんなつもりはないけど、結局そういうことかも。
Because she said so innocently, it didn't even sound offensive.
のんちゃんは世界一になりたいのです。
Right.
トップ、優勝、一番、最強、王様、そういう言葉が好きです。
Well, I think you might have a little trouble getting the status of king, but good luck. I understand. Then I pointed to the sofa cover that Kanon had wrinkled up when I wasn't paying attention. I understand, so fix that.
やだ、どうせすぐにぐっちゃにするから。
Then just don't wrinkle it up in the first place. Reflect on it and make sure that you don't do it again.
王は顧みないものです。
You're not king yet. You just beat me to it, you bastard. You're not king yet. A king
兄
yet.
さんにはかなわないな。
She reluctantly straightened up on the cover. Oh, Okay, now that you got me thinking about it, I would love to see Kyosuke get on ice skating ring and try to compete against you. That sounds like it could make for a very entertaining show. Do you want to take a bath? The water's ready.
気が利くね。やっぱり兄さんの家に来て正解だったな。
What do you mean? Surely Ikuko-san heated up the water for you too.
うん。すごい気を使ってくれるよ。
Hey Kanon, have you ever ice skate with the devil under the pale moonlight? A glimmer of loneliness shone in Kanon's eyes.
コーチは、のんちゃんが世界一になることばっかり考えている人だから。
That kind of parent, huh?
いつもヘコヘコしてるよ、私に。
She lowered her head and stared at the empty floor. I remembered the thing that had bothered me and asked about it. Well, about your program for the free skate tomorrow.
ん？
It doesn't really seem like it's your style, so why? For an instant, Kanon pursed her lips in hesitation.
知らない。コーチがヒルトン先生にお願いしたみたい。でも知らない。
I didn't ask Kanon, who still called Kikuko-san coach, anything else.
じゃ、一緒に寝よう。
I'm not sleeping.
のんちゃんね、何かを抱っこしてないと眠れないの。
Then get a pillow. But don't act so bratty. You know we shouldn't be doing stuff like that.
大丈夫だよ。誰も見てないよ。
That's beside the point, Kanon. For Christ's sake, what am I supposed to do with this girl? Either indulge her or just reject her. One or the other. It's not that complicated, man. The shadow floating behind her smile is bugging me a bit. Oh well, I guess it wouldn't hurt to stay by her side until she falls asleep. Where's a damn coin when you need one? This feels like something I want to flip a coin on. Fuck it. Fine, I get it. But I'm nocturnal, so I'll be reading on the bed.
ありがとう。5秒で寝つくから。
Hurry up and take your bath.
はい。
She saluted and went to the changing room with light steps. Jeez. I sat on the chair in the study and stretched lazily. Kanon should be able to win easily tomorrow. So, there'll be another victim. Thinking about that made me depressed. Even so, I don't really have any methods at my disposal to do anything about it. I don't. What the hell? I'm getting dizzy again. It's probably because of Akimoto's big mouth. Damn it. Even so. Hello, Devil Man. This is outside of my calculations. To think that Usami had already come into contact with Mephistopheles. Why did Usami appear at that dock tonight? Usami is in contact with his eye Gonzo, so she should have a list of possible victims. People who are affiliated with Kanon, be it through school, skating, blood relation. Even if the list was filtered through, there should have been more than 10 people. And from that, to correctly pinpoint that German ballet dancer as the target. Michael Jugmund does indeed live near the Western District's port. Maybe Usami and the rest were watching his house and discovered Mephistopheles acting suspiciously on the boardwalk. Why? Is it a coincidence? Extremely good luck? If it wasn't, then I have to admit that I underestimated Usami. I let loose a sardonic laugh. I don't get it. Along with the sound of the shower starting, a person's voice came from the bathroom. There's no towel, it said. A cheeky woman. I'll prepare one right away. I look forward to tomorrow. I'll have Usami show me her skills so I can see just how good she really is. Well, you know me. When the devil comes a-knockin', it's kind of impossible to ignore him forever, you know? Yeah, you're always full of energy. The next morning, I walked Kanon to the building entrance. After a while, a high-class foreign car drove up and approached the curb.
Ohayo, Kyosuke-kun.
Hello? Yukiko-san slowly emerged from the left-hand driver's seat. Good morning. Nice car.
そう?もう2世代も前の車よ。
Hey, if it still works, then don't fret about it. Even so, I'm sure she could afford to buy 3 family cars.
それじゃ兄さん、行ってくるね。
Kanon ducked into the back seat with enthusiasm. Nobody sat in the passenger seat.
ごめんなさいね。私からも連絡しておこうと思ったんだけど、つい忙しくて。
It's okay. She was talking about Kanon.
何か言ってなかった？
No. Nothing in particular.
私の悪口とか？
The strange smile she developed over the years surfaced. I couldn't distinguish between her sincerity and sarcasm. No. She just said she was going to do her best and set her sights on the World Championships.
ならいいけど。
She put her hand against her sagging cheek suggestively. Speaking of the World Championships, she was an Olympic athlete in the past.
カノンは甘えん坊だから大変でしょ？
It can be.
でも、それが可愛いのよね。
I felt only unrest. Oblivious to the reason behind it, I knew only that I wouldn't be able to continue a conversation with this person.
ねえ、行かないの？
Kanon popped her head out the window. She bore a very unamused look on her face. No, maybe it's just my imagination. She just rarely looks so expressionless.
何かあったら連絡してね。
Yukiko-san nodded slightly before getting into the car. After a quiet ignition, the car drove off, followed by a black limo. In the limo behind Yukiko-san's car sat 2 huge muscle men. They're probably Gonzo's men, here to protect Yukiko-san. Yukuko. Whatever. It'll become second nature to me eventually, pronouncing the name correctly. I'm not that hopeless. However, what will happen when they get to the arena? What will happen when they enter areas only official tournament personnel are allowed to enter? Even Yakuza would be thrown out of there. This opportunity may be the one Mau is intending to exploit. I got a phone call. It's Gonzo. It's so early in the morning. Come on, Dad. This is Kyosuke.
宇佐美はどうだ
I don't know. I haven't seen her since last time.
連れてこいすぐにだ
The line cut right after he finished. What's this new development? Well, do what he says and bring her along and maybe you'll find out. I rolled my eyes and clicked my tongue as I dialed Usami's number.
宇佐美でございます。
She picked up the phone after only one ring. Good to hear you're as disgusting as ever. What are you up to right now?
今はフランス風の喫茶でカッファを頼んでいます。
Quit bluffing.
本当です。新聞も読んでます。カノンのことがデカデカと載ってますね。
Usami wasn't in the arena yesterday.
表情の戦女神とかなってますよ。
You should go see it in person at least once. It's incredibly intoxicating.
あ、ちょっとすいません。
Suddenly, I heard some sort of rustling noise. What? What are you doing? However, there was no response. If I listened carefully, I could hear the weak sound of country music in the background. Unless French restaurants are fond of country music, something seems fishy. And I don't mean what you ate last night either. She really was in a shop somewhere. Hello?
あ、何ですか？
I decided to cut to the chase. Gonzo wants you. Come quickly.
マジっすか。
She seemed to sink into deep consideration.
わかりました。今セントラル街にいましてね。
I'll come meet you then. I'll call you when I'm almost there. After Usami agreed, I started walking. The day was especially warm. I met Usami shortly after calling her out. What are you doing out here anyway?
もちろん尾行です。
Tailing? Who?
それはまだなんとも。怪しい人ではあるんですが、白だったらご本人に迷惑がかかりますので。
Suspicious how?
昨日ばったり出くわしましてね。まだ事件に関係があるかどうか確信が持てないんですが。どうでしょう。
She glanced behind her. Save the details until we meet with Gonzo.
もしかして、何の進展もなかったら、撃ち殺されるんですかね。
Good question. It's possible.
え
Usami's face suddenly tensed. Her eyes widened as she stared at something behind me. What's wrong? Who are you? I turned my head around, and a tall woman stood behind me. I don't think I've even seen you at school before. Her lustrous coat was strangely vivid under the winter sun. A faint smile was plastered on her face as she looked at us. The woman slowly approached Usami and me. Her soft, straight black hair shone brilliantly under the sunlight. What the? I asked Usami behind me. You know her? Hey, Usami. She was entirely speechless. Could the suspicious person Usami spoke of be? Finally, the woman spoke.
久しぶりね。ある？
Well, she certainly seems to know Usami. I turned back to Usami without thinking.
You...
雪だ
Okay, so you clearly know her too. Care to introduce? Usami broke into a dash. She moved incredibly fast. I was shocked by the scene, and she vanished into the crowd before I even noticed. But, hey! Yuki? My eyes met with a woman named Yuki before I'd grasped the situation. As we confronted each other, I noticed that we were around the same height. She had long eyebrows and determined eyes. She had long arms and legs like Kanon. She wasn't at all like an ordinary Japanese person. The black suitcase in her hands conjured images of an able businesswoman in my mind.
こんにちは。私は時田由紀。あなたは？
This woman, capable of unnerving even the stoic Usami, asked me in a peaceful tone. Kyosuke, as I Kyosuke, you would be...
FBI よ。
Really now? What? While I wondered, aghast, if she was really telling me the truth, her next question rushed in.
あなたは春の恋人？
Don't freak me out like that. I'm just an acquaintance of hers. Tokiga smiled and opened the suitcase.
これ、私の連絡先。
She handed me a business card. I'm sorry, but, when did I agree to exchange business cards with you?
春に伝えておいて。
What do you mean by that? An evil glow sparkled in her eyes. Okay, clearly it's something not good.
それじゃあ、また会いましょう。
She left after saying her piece. And then there was me, still puzzled, and not a step away from where I was when she came in. I set? An acquaintance of Usami's?
浅井さん、浅井さん。
Oh, you're back. She was gasping for air.
ユキは何か言っていましたか？
Well, apparently well, I got her number. Not really, only that she has her eyes set on you. Who is that woman? She's incredibly beautiful. Usami shook her head with no sign of stopping.
いや、私の友達です。
You mean you've really had friends before? If she's a friend of Usami's, then chances are that she's a weirdo. Speaking of which, what does it mean when you say you have your eyes set on a friend?
ユキが狙っているのは私の B 地区です。
Sweater puppies? Oh, your boobs. I never noticed before, but Usami's boobs were bigger than those of some pinup models. Well, maybe you would notice if you wouldn't recoil in disgust at her every time she shows up. Anyway, here's her contact information.
電話をしろと？
Are you that against it?
私の B 地区がこうなったのはユキのせいです。
How? I think the theory that breasts grow when you rub them is merely an urban legend. Oh. Like that, huh? Well then, I guess I can just pretend that I lost it. I didn't feel like dealing with this anymore.
いえいえ、ユキに嘘は通じません。
Huh?
これは大変なことになったぞ。
I think this is the first time I've seen Usami panicked into a sweat. Even amongst those as odd as Usami, everyone shows reverence when the presence of Gonzo. The blabbering idiot from a moment ago was nowhere to be seen. With a stern look on her face, Haru sat opposite Gonzo.
脅迫状によれば、今日の夜9時に人が死ぬ。何か掴んだか？
それが。
Speak clearly.
わかりました。では、これをご覧ください。
She took the threat letter from last time out of her bag as she spoke. What am I looking at?
この封筒なんですがね。
Usami flipped the empty envelope over and placed it on the desk. What about it? On top of it was what seemed to be a black pencil smudge.
ちょっと気になる引っかき傷があったので。
文字の痕跡か。
ええ、よくテレビで刑事がやるようなことをやらせてもらいました。
もうやるな。痕跡の大半が消える。本来なら。
Something seemed to have come up in Gonzo's mind as his expressions deepened.
何か出てきたか。
謎の文字が。
We all looked carefully. On the back of the envelope was the word North, and a certain distance away, the letters HTS.
北と津ですね。
What does that mean?
おそらく魔王はこの封筒の上に紙を置いて何かを書いたんです。
What could he have written? Usami shook her head.
ゴンゾーさんはどう思われます？
Gonzo narrowed his eyes slightly and answered.
殺しのあった現場だ。
Why do you say that?
北欧ハイツ。北区にある死んだデザイナーの自宅マンションだ。
私と同じ意見です。少し自信が持てました。
続きがある。斎藤だな。これもデザイナーの名前だ。
So it's the murder target in his address. There seems to be more.
ええ、それなんですがね。
The character for Ko, as in the word Kodomo. Child, right?
はい、おそらく。
If you look carefully, it seems to be written right next to Saito. It looks like they're in the same column or something.
なるほど。よく気づかれましたね。ということは、これもやはり次の殺害予定者でしょう。
I immediately ran through the list of people associated with Kanon. A name containing that character for Ko. Noriko. Is it Miss Noriko? The female teacher that Eiichi was once smitten with.
それから、カノンと親交のあった元選手の吉田紀美子さん。
According to our sources, she opened a cafe no more than 10 minutes away from the arena after she retired. Most of the customers were the skaters, so the shop was very lively.
あとは、幾子だな。
Gonzo spoke blankly and without emotion, despite being the name of his ex-lover. One of these three is going to be murdered.
そうですね。魔王の脅迫状にはそうありました。
If you intend to lend your ears and heed my warning, force her to throw up the upcoming NHK trophy. Otherwise, a new sacrifice will be taken at 9 o'clock, the night of the last day. There's no doubt Kanon's going to win. If that happens, tonight at 9, Mau might already be preparing for the whole operation. Any other leads?
ここなんですが。
Usami's finger pointed to the clearly visible patterns of once written characters. The P's might be saying paper. Or wait, there's an 1-A. Population?
いえ、袋でしょう。紙袋です。
Paper bag, huh? Paper bag? Wonder what does that mean?
あとは、その紙袋という文字のすぐそばにある数字ですかね。
5?
5の前にも何か、数字ですかね。
Whoops. So what does it mean?
わかりませんが、今のところ思い当たるのは、
スケート会場内の客席番号だな。
私もそう思います。今日は女子フリーです。スケート会場内は大変な賑わいです。育子さんの警護も難しくなるでしょう。
Definitely. If his target is Ikuko-san, this number might be where he's seated in the arena.
5番なのか、25番なのか、56番なのかはわかりませんが。
There are also Latin letters ranging from A to K in front of the numbers. The deadline is 9 o'clock. Would there be enough time to take a look at all the seats in the Kayak Arena? Before I noticed, the sunlight shining into the room had become brighter. It's probably about 2 in the afternoon. A voice came from outside.
お話し中失礼します。
堀部か。
The man entered the room with his head down.
これは坊ちゃん、お久しぶりでございます。
Not that long, I'm afraid. Horibi, the underboss, is the one calling me the young master and son. He's the second most powerful member of the Soniyama group, behind Gonzo. An abusive, sadistic glow always shone in his flat eyes.
親父の指示通り、若いの30人ばかりかき集めておきました。
おう。
いつでも動けます。
Gonzo nodded as Horibi's report ended. Horibi bowed and left.
兵隊は揃った。
Well, this is Gonzo. He always has the matter neatly taken care of. He had already prepared a unit that could move freely.
だが、会場内に入れるのは、よくて10人だろうな。
今から10人分のチケットを手に入れられるのがまずすごいです。
This is Gonzo, after all. He probably plans to make the scalpers cough them up.
残りの人間は会場の出入り口を固めさせる。幾子が出入りする関係者通用口は特に。宇佐美と京介は中の人間と協力して会場内で該当する客席を調べろ。
Understood. Usami nodded quietly.
魔王の背格好だが。
はい、身長は高めです。浅井さんくらいでしょうか。髪型は特に印象的なものでもありませんでしたね。顔をはっきりと見たわけではありませんが、やや前髪が長めだったような気がします。服装はもちろん私が目撃した時の服装ですが、どこにでも売ってそうな黒いコートに、これまた町のサラリーマンが着てそうなスーツ姿でした。
あえてだろうな。
You mean he went out of his way to blend in with the crowd?
しかし、魔王ばかりを追っていると、思わぬ罠に陥るかもしれんぞ。
おっしゃる通りです。
I see. There might be an accomplice.
はい。魔王は封筒の上で、次の殺害予定者を紙か何かに書いたと思われます。それ。
Or perhaps, you're saying it could be an instruction to an accomplice. In the threat letter Mao sent, he writes that he released the murderer called Mephistopheles into the wild.
しかし、どうにも。
Usami furrowed her brows again. Usami, speaking of which, who were you tailing today?
あ、はい。その話ですね。
なんだ。
Usami cleared her throat and said,
実はですね、昨日怪しげな人と出会いまして。
When? Where?
西区の港ですね。倉庫が連なっているような場所です。男性が岸の縁でしゃがんでたんです。目の前は海です。真っ暗な海を覗き込んでいるものだから自殺かなと思って声をかけましたら、妙に驚かれまして。
He might have taken you for a ghost.
年齢は30ちょっとでしょうかね。妙に武将髭が濃かったような。
So just what about him was suspicious?
男性の足元で血が点々と海に続いていたんです。
Blood, huh?
血についてはノーコメントでした。が、地面には何かを持ち去ったような跡がありました。後で調べてみたところ、血の点が途中で途切れていた箇所がありました。
And that something was...
わかりませんが、カードでしょうかね。四角いものだと思います。そういう跡ができていました。
But that doesn't necessarily mean that the man took it, does it?
いえ、彼の懐中電灯を握る親指の先がかすかに赤に染まっていました。血染めのカードを拾ったと考えるのは自然です。
What precise observations?
彼はジョギングしていると言ったんですがね。それも多分嘘です。
Yeah. It was a handheld flashlight, right? Would anyone jog carrying something like that?
あの晩は何か人に言えないようなやましい事件があったんだと思います。
Gonzo, who had been silently watching our interchange, finally said,
で、宇佐美はなぜそんな場所に行ったんだ？
Good question. Did she find a lead or something?
あの近くに被害者リストにあるバレエダンサーが住んでいますよね。
Michael Jugmund, I think. Did you go there to meet him?
念のため訪問しましたが留守でした。手元の資料にあるように、その方は2ヶ月前に一時帰国しているはずですから。
Not to interrupt, but wouldn't that mean that the dancer is safe?
だとはいいんですけどね。
Gonzo was still staring at Usami.
それでその怪しげな男を今日の朝まで追っていたというわけです。
話を聞く限り、今回の脅迫事件と関係はなさそうだが。
ねえ、特にこれといった確信はないんですが。
I tilted my head.
私がユグムントさんの名前を出した時にやけに食いついてきたような気がするんです。
Interest? I may not know of him, but isn't he a pretty famous dancer?
いえいえ、藤原紀香も知らない人がユグムントさんを知っているとは思えません。
Huh?
名前を聞かれたので憧れの芸能人の名前を出したんです。
So it's a celebrity name. You really have a way of getting things done.
そしたら全くの無反応でしてね。一瞬だだ滑ったのかと思って知りたくなりましたが、どうも相手の様子が素でしてね。
Well, normally one would probably assume it to be a fake name.
まあ、藁にもすがるってやつです。
Did you find out the man's address?
いいえ、彼は朝までセントラル街のバーで飲んでいました。帰宅する様子も見せませんでした。
I get it. If he can stay that long at the bar, then he must be a regular customer.
ええ、そのバーさえ張っていれば尾行はいつでも再開できます。
話は分かった。その男について何かあれば人を割く。
Well, that'll be all then. We've already finished saying what we need to. I bowed to Gonzo and turned around, prepared to leave.
幾子は殺されても構わん。
Pardon? I looked back in surprise at Gonzo's emotionless words.
重要なのは星を必ず捕まえることだ。
We're not the police. We don't place the safety of citizens as our first priority.
あの女はカノンにとってももう不要な存在だ。むしろこれから先は邪魔になる。
A cruel thing to say. But a truly heartless man. I couldn't even imagine him having close relations with Ikuko-san in the past. Suddenly, I thought of my mother. It is the very Azai Gonzo before me that pushed my mother into the abyss of poverty. He's a demon. And as for me, the boy forced to serve the demon, I will drown in an indispersible despair. One day, with my own hands, Gonzo.
浅井さん、どうされました？
No, nothing. We left Gonzo's house.
しかし、このお宅の警備もなかなか物々しいですね。
As Usami pointed out, there are always groups of people patrolling the house. One stationed in the front, 3 in the garden, and each of them carrying a different weapon.
やはりヤクザさんの偉い人ともなると代わりの効かないお体なんでしょうね。
Well, duh. That aside, I'm impressed by how much you found.
はあ、これでゴンゾーさんに役立たず扱いされなければいいんですが。
I think if he did, you would know it for sure. You concentrate on the envelope rather than the letter. That already proves you're smart enough.
ですかね。あまり褒めないでもらえると嬉しいです。
She looked somehow displeased. It's almost time. Should we call a cab?
電車の方が早いでしょう。
We left swiftly for the subway station.
坊ちゃん、そっちの女性は坊ちゃんの色ですかい？
Hell of a first impression. Haribi asked me if a smile. Oh, wait, never mind. I guess it was Haribi, so I guess technically not a bad first impression, but still, what a very rude thing to ask. It was already 3 in the afternoon. We met Haribi inside the arena. Me, Usami, Haribi, and 5 of his men were there. They didn't really look all that bad. Their builds and facial features were fairly typical. They could pass for average citizens to a quick glance.
あざいさん、自分色とか言われてるんですけど。
I see your mouth is as foul as ever, Haribi.
おや、違うんですか。そいつは失礼。
Haribi narrowed his thin eyes even more, awaiting my orders. Alright, let's split up. We need to search all seats that contain the number 5. No matter if it's 35 or 52, search it. If you spot any suspicious people, call me right away, okay?
魔王は背の高い青年なんでしたっけ？
Yes, but we might be dealing with a different agent this time.
ってことは、5のつく席に座ってる野郎全員に梨をつけなきゃならんですね。
The first thing to check would be that the name of the person and the name of the ticket match. The popularity of figure skating is very high, so tonight's tickets were sold out moments after they opened the box office. Mau probably got his tickets through an internet auction, or something like that.
でしたら、適当に怪しいやつをしょっぴいて、魔王だの脅迫状だの、犯人しか知らないようなことをかまかけてみますわ。
Haribi might be a sinister man, but one cannot hold on to the number 2 seat in Gonzo's organization without also bearing a cunning mind. This might take a while. Still, I hope everyone can lay low. Try not to cause any trouble.
承知してますよ。カノンお嬢ちゃんの晴れ舞台を邪魔しちゃいけねえってことくらい。
あるいは
Usami spoke.
席が空いていたとしても調べてもらえますか？何か不審なものが置かれていないか。
You mean like a paper bag? Usami shook her head.
その5という数すら、そもそも客席の番号とは何の関係もないかもしれませんが。
But it's still a lot better than just letting this play through. And realistically, we can pretty much be sure that Ikiko-san is his target.
おっしゃる通りです。では動きましょう。
Haribi shouted and the men scattered.
浅井さん？
Hmm?
ちょっと顔色が悪そうですが。
Yeah, I was just up with Kanon until late last night. Can't even walk straight.
そうですか。無理しないでくださいね。
Usami left me with the words, "I'll call you when I find something," and vanished around the corner of the corridor. You certainly are the right person. Thank you very much for your cooperation. I bowed to the lady seated at F51. The arena is so huge, it takes over 10 or 15 minutes just to get from one place to the next. Once the competition starts, we'll only be able to ask spectators between programs. It'll become even more time-consuming. We're pretending to be plainclothes security guards. If the real guards find out, there's going to be big trouble. And to top it all, even in cases where the spectator in the ticket match, we can't let our guards down. I've already questioned 6 people, and any one of them might be Mau's accomplice. It's a very laborious task. What a congregation. Mephistopheles obeyed Mau's orders and left seat C5. As he stood up, a yell suddenly came from the seat behind him. It was a fat, middle-aged woman. I have to try my best not to draw any attention. Mephistopheles bent down, lowered his head, and walked toward the passage on the second floor. The audience was stunningly huge. And for what? Some meaningless prancing? To Mephistopheles, the only true sport was the national game of Japan, sumo. He already sat through Mao's spiel, explaining the draw of figure skating. It's both sport and art. The history of figure skating could be traced back to ancient times. Mao had even told him about the oldest known pair of ice skates in the world, a pair made from animal bones, which are now preserved in the British Museum. Skating on animal bones. That can't be good for your feet. The entire discourse slipped from Mephistopheles' mind immediately thereafter, though. Well, you don't really strike me as someone with good short-term memory. The only persistent information was about the athlete, Kanon. To put it simply, Kanon was a source of income for a criminal organization. Mao had called her a lost cause. Mephistopheles felt the same way. Criminal groups' actions and ideals aren't ideals at all. These organizations are merely gangs trying to turn a profit. They snatch money from the weak in order to make a living out of a life of crime. When an enterprise brings misfortune to someone, lobbyists and interest groups, not unlike Mephistopheles, drive their advertisement-riddled vans around the city, eventually stopping at the doorstep of said enterprise and blasting out some cacophony in protest of their actions. As soon as the organization promises to support the interest group with capital, the harassment stops and continues somewhere else. In Mephistopheles' opinion, the existence of people who value only money, yet armor themselves in false ideals, has stained the concept of interest groups. Mao made his beliefs about Kanon very clear. Once Kanon has disappeared, we will be one step closer to achieving social justice. Also, Kanon wasn't the sort of athlete that represented our nation. She even showed a contemptuous attitude toward the audience. Mephistopheles could understand Mao's feelings. Well, she is guilty of showing any form of contempt toward anybody. It's her fellow competitors. A friend's indignation would be his flare of rage. So he followed the plan and strode down the aisle. It was 8:45 in the evening. Kanon's free skate was about to start. The corridors were nearly deserted, as the spectators were all racked with anticipation in the arena. I rendezvoused with Usami. How's it coming?
いえ、まるでダメです。怪しい人って言いますけど、どっちかっていうと自分の方が怪しいですから。
Usami finally recognized herself as a strange person. There are too few clues. We got nothing but the number 5, the words paper bag, and the ko in Ikuko-san.
多すぎるくらいだとも思いますがね。
She mumbled to herself.
さっき警備の人にさすがに捕まえられましたよ。やっぱり世界の選手が集まるだけあって、それなりに警戒されてるんですね。
It might be about time to stop then.
自分は尋問とか苦手でしてね。
That would be because it's hard enough as it is to just have a conversation with you.
こんな時にユキでもいれば。
There are still 15 minutes before the deadline of 9 o'clock.
はい。
Then my phone suddenly rang. Let me guess, it's gonna be Yuki, right? It was Haribi. Never mind. An empty seat. A brown bag. Is it a paper bag?
マジっすか?
It was a point that she herself made, but now she's standing there, shocked. Understood. I'll head over right now. C5, right? The audience was in a stir. Kanon's performance had just ended. The free skate is only 4 minutes long. To the performer and the audience, it might be a long period of time, but it passed in the blink of an eye when Usami and I were rushing to meet Horibi.
いやー、さすがカノンでした。素晴らしい。
Oh, shut up. You weren't even watching. Just like the spectators around us, Usami clapped excitedly. Judging by the audience's reaction, Kanon's victory is all but hers, as expected. I took a look at the screen that showed the points awarded. Sure enough, Kanon had the lead. There's still one contestant who hasn't performed yet, but based on her performance yesterday, she has no chance of beating Kanon. Which means Mao should be making his move.
坊ちゃん、こっちです。
I watched Horibi's side and took a look at the seat. C5 was empty.
一応手はつけないで見張っておきました。星がのこのこ戻ってくるかもしれませんしね。
As we spoke, the last competitor began her performance. In the dead silent arena, it was best to stop the chattering. The clock kept on ticking, but I was hesitant to just sit down and wait patiently. The moment the soothing classical music stopped, we started moving again. Comfortably drowned out by the loud applause, Usami dashed for the seat. She grabbed the bag under the seat and spoke immediately.
何か入っています。中を開けてみましょう。
It was a small paper bag with a department store label on it. What if it's a bomb?
ええ、本当なら警察の方にお渡ししたいものですが、堀部さんが許さないでしょうね。しかし、例えば今この場で、私を含め無関係な人を爆弾で吹き飛ばしたとしても、それがカノンの躍進を妨害することにはならないと思います。
I suppose that's true. If somebody died, the tournament might cancel, but that wouldn't stop Kanon from moving on to the Olympics. Beyond that, the police our Mao seems to detest more than anything, would start an investigation.
開けます。
I nodded, and Usami tore apart the tape which sealed the paper bag. Another letter? The bag contained nothing but a single piece of paper with the same texture as the threat letter. Probably a message to us if I had to guess. I stood beside Usami and read the words on the paper with her. Just like the letter Gonzo received, it was in horrible handwriting. To a dear comrade, you've already made sure of Azai Kanon's victory, correct? Here's your next task. The target is Kanisaki Ikuko. Leave the arena. Head to the staff entrance. Chaos should erupt when the fans start waiting for the skaters to come out. Indeed, it will be so chaotic that if someone were to die, no one would be able to tell who did it. Be especially careful when you use the dagger. One would die as if sleeping with a mere slice of the fingertip. A red carpet was being rolled out onto the ice, and the award ceremony was about to begin. On the highest step of the winner's platform was Kanon. Concentrate on guarding the staff entrance! I stared at Horibi. The accomplice who accepted Mao's orders was right there, getting ready to kill Ikuko-san. Horibi kicked into gear. He called his men immediately and gave immediate instructions. Hey, Usami, we should go too. Usami moved as well. However, she didn't climb the stairs of the seating section. Instead, she started talking with the person sitting behind C5.
そうですか。カーキ色のコート。30くらいの男性ですね。
Getting his description, huh?
そうよ。よく覚えているわ。前の人、いきなり席を立つんだもの。
何時頃でしたか？
瀬田真紀子が演技してたから。
今から10分くらい前ですね。8時40分くらいですか？
席に着いたと思ったらすぐにいなくなっちゃって、ほんと迷惑だわ。
Usami's response was very quick. She's already discovered what the accomplice looks like. Something felt wrong. Hey, Usami, what's going on? Judging from the look on Usami's face as she turned back, I noticed how grim the situation was.
違う。
She spoke with unchanging intonation.
おかしい。最初からおかしかった。しかし唯一の手がかりを追っていくしかなかった。あらかじめ敗北の決まっているチェスのゲーム。
She mumbled, as if talking to herself.
今すぐ止めてください。関係者通用口に向かっている皆さんをお願いです。早く。
Just like that? Why?
魔王は封筒にいくつも痕跡を残すようなヘマはしません。あの文章にしてもおかしい。ワープロ打ちではなく手書きというだけでも怪しいのに、妙に自慢げで程度の低い文面でした。そしてこの紙袋です。おそらくミスをしたのは魔王ではなく共犯者でしょう。
There's a mistake on the bag? I picked it up right away.
ガムテープです。
Ah, I finally understood.
まず優れた犯罪者というものはテープのように粘着性のあるものを嫌います。髪の毛、指紋、その他衣服の繊維なんかも知らず知らずのうちに付着されてしまうからです。何よりおかしいのは、共犯者はこの魔王の指示を開封しないでどうやって確認したのでしょうか。
True. The bag was sealed up until the moment Usami opened it.
そもそももし共犯者が魔王の指示を確認したのなら、まずこの手紙を持ち去っているはずです。私たちは手がかりを失っているはずなのです。
Yeah, we're pretty much in a trap. Because it's an order to kill. Leaving such a piece of evidence at the scene is too suspicious to be true.
しかし今確認したところ、8時40分頃に共犯者らしき男性がこの C の5の席に着いたようです。なぜでしょう。共犯者は何をしに現れたんでしょう。
Which means...
はい、この紙袋を置いたのは魔王ではなく共犯者なのです。
Whoops. I nodded with approval and then looked at my watch. It was nearly 9:05.
急ぎましょう、浅井さん。これは罠です。
Fitting that the music playing right now is titled No Escape, right as a trap has been ensnared. The first target marked to feel the wrath of Mephistopheles was a woman named Yoshida Kimiko. Though Kanesaki Ikuko was also an unforgivable woman, Yoshida was even worse. Yoshida was a follower of a famous religious organization. That organization exists as a parasite, feeding off of Japan's political circle, and contributes to the nation's corruption. Of course, though their atrocities never make it to the public eye, the existence of their crimes is a well-known fact. Long before accepting Mao's instructions, Mephistopheles had already planned out a way to punish Yoshida with the iron fist of justice. Yoshida manages a cafe near the skating arena. The time was drawing near. The methods were simple. Mephistopheles wrapped his fingers tightly around the vial. Mao had taught him the procedure to create the toxin. He was simply to throw the vial into the shop, allowing the liquid to diffuse into the air and form a deadly mist. Not only Yoshida, but the customers too, birds of a feather anyway, would all die. Perfect. In any case, Mao had really thought this through. He chose the moment right after the figure skating event. It had already been a pain just to get out of the arena. The area would soon be filled with mobs of people who didn't even know the meaning of the word patriotism. If one slipped into the crowd and boarded the subway in the immediate vicinity of the area, there would be no worry of being caught, no matter what came to pass. Mephistopheles had followed Mau's orders and placed the paper bag below the seat. In the brown paper bag was a phony instruction from Mau. It served only to throw the police off by indicating Kanesaki Ikuko as the target. He had never made eye contact with a single person in the arena. Well, the old lady behind him gave him a nasty glare when he stood from his seat, but she wouldn't remember his face. After all, he had appeared as nothing more than an ordinary citizen. After a 10-minute walk, Mephistopheles arrived at a luxurious brick cafe. A cruel smile emerged on his face as he reached the front windows of the roadside shop. Within the cramped yet tidy sitting arena area, a few boys and girls sat at the bar and chatted with the bartender. He saw her. Yoshida Kimiko. His target was the fan. Die! He raised the vial over his head. Hesitation is unnecessary when making a kill. This wouldn't be the first time anyway. Someone started to shout frantically. Surprising calls of, "That's the guy," erupted behind him. "Hey you! Stop there!" they said, right there. Mephistopheles looked back at their pointing fingers. Judging by their appearances, they seemed to be Yakuza. Their numbers multiplied. Curses came from all directions. Why? However, Mephistopheles was extremely calm. He put the vial back into his pocket and moved with the pedestrian traffic toward the subway station. His ticket had been bought beforehand. He moved slowly and orderly. He took the 9:05 train. He was stopped at the station right on time. Mephistopheles slowly boarded the subway car as planned. No, there had been a deviation from the plan. Yoshida was still alive. Why? How could this? Now that's sheer incompetence right there. By 9:30, the search for the accomplice had been called off.
ダメでしたか?
I wouldn't say that. We managed to... Well, yeah, we failed to catch him, but at the very least, we managed to stop him from killing a bunch of people. Usami was already gasping.
おそらく地下鉄でしょう。電車の到着時刻もあらかじめ調べておいたとしか思えません。
Even so, you figured out that his real target was Yoshida-san? Usami shook her head in regret.
共犯者はあの席におよそ8時40分に現れました。会場から出るだけで10分はかかるとして、犯行予定時刻の9時まで残り10分ですね。となると最も危険なのは会場から10分程度の場所にいる人物です。この混雑ですからタクシーは当てにならないでしょう。バスも同じです。地下鉄は8時46分の1本を逃すと次は9時5分まで待たなくてはなりません。つまり共犯者は歩いて移動するはずです。アイスアリーナから歩いて10分程度の距離に住所を構えるのは吉田さんだけでした。
Though it was already past 9, Gonzo's troops' quick response was able to save her. They rushed to Yoshida Kimiko's cafe immediately and spotted a man in a khaki coat. Boribi spoke with a very depressed look.
すみませんね、坊ちゃん。不甲斐ないとこ見せちまって。
No, you've all given it your best. I'll report that to father.
逃げた男を目撃した方にお話を聞きたいのですが。
わかりました。はい、このタガー!
He gave me my due respect, but his attitude toward his subordinates was a completely different beast. Usami started talking to one of Harimbi's dumb fucks. After a while, the conversation ended.
じゃあ、自分らは報告もありますし、撤収しますわ。
I returned a bow and watched them leave.
残念ですが。
What is it?
聞けば一瞬のことだったそうです。カーキ色のコートを着た男を見つけたと思ったら、いきなり喫茶店に向けて何か物を投げるような姿勢をとったんだそうです。顔はよく見えなかったが、年齢は30くらいで痩せている印象だったということですが。
Usami sighed. If that's all we have, then this isn't going to be easy. Anyone could wear a khaki coat.
惜しかったのですがね。
So we're back to square one then?
いいえ、アザイさん。
Usami shook her head.
まだ手がかりはあるはずです。
ったく、なんだよこんな時間に。
Yeah, I'd like to know that too. Why are we calling him out? How could he help us?
いや、ほんとすいません。
僕、これから録画したスケートのテレビ中継見ようと思ったのに。
みんなで見た方が楽しいじゃないですか。
Speaking of which, Eiichi, weren't you there at the arena today? Do you always record the show even when you see it live?
もちろんだよ。解説聞きたいもん。会場内でも専用のラジオ貸し出してて、それで解説聞けるけど、テレビとは別の解説者だから。
The cameras might have caught the accomplice's face. There was the argument Usami had made for calling Eiichi to see if he'd recorded the program. C5 was, in fact, right next to the ice. From there, one can concentrate on the competition without worrying about the person's head in front of him. Thus, there was a relatively high chance that his face was caught on camera. Smart thinking.
はい。これ録画した DVD ね。
I took the disc from Eiichi and put it in the DVD player. The three of us glued our faces to the screen, and the DVD started after a moment. I don't remember hearing a woman moan in ecstasy during the competition. Maybe it was when we were away from the ring? The body of a woman who looked like a porn star occupied the whole screen, shaking violently. Hey.
ごめん。本日の一発ギャグ。
A bit surprisingly, Usami lowered her head in embarrassment.
はい。本物はこっち。
I will have to think of a divine punishment for you later, won't I, mortal? This better not be another joke. Eiichi swapped out the DVD and pressed play again. Looks like the real thing, alright. An aerial shot of the irritatingly crowded skating arena displayed on the screen.
じゃあ、僕の解説を交えて最初から言ってみよう。
あ、8時半くらいからのを最初に見たいです。
え ?8 時半ったら最終グループの選手たちだよ。いきなりメインディッシュいただこうっていうの？
8時40分くらいですかね。瀬田真紀子さんという方からお願いします。
なんなのさ、瀬田のファンなの？
いや、まあ。
確かにね、瀬田はいい演技してたと思うよ。でもね、なんつうの、無難すぎたんだよね。そりゃミスはなかったけどさ。
While Eiichi was blabbering on, I took the opportunity to jump directly to Seiya's free skate program with a remote control. Seiya really was cute. Compared to Kanon, who almost looks like a foreigner, she was shorter and had a rounder face. She looked like some adorable character created for advertisements when she smiled.
ああ、そこダブルだったんだね。トリプル狙わないとカノンに勝てないでしょうが、瀬田ちゃん。
I suddenly found Eiichi lying on his stomach on the floor. He looked like a middle-aged man watching baseball. Well, he certainly does look like a middle-aged man when he's scowling. Usami silently concentrated on the screen. How many cameras did they use? The multi-angle shots were making me dizzy. I remember seeing the cameras hanging by steel wires turning busily over the audience at the arena.
ストップ
I pressed the pause button without a second thought. It was right before she stepped into her axle jump. Behind Seda, behind the ringside advertisement, sat the man we were looking for.
ちょっと何止めてんの？
Shut up, old man.
何？
Usami spoke quietly.
カーキ色のコート。この人ですね。
I'll play it a little bit further. The man lowered his head and stretched his hands under the seat. He started to stand up, but then the camera angle switched again. By the time the camera angle switched back, the seat was already empty. Want to zoom in and have a look?
できるのであれば。
I don't know how to do it. Let me look it up on the internet. Don't you keep a manual of your damn DVD player somewhere?
僕わかるよ。
Or, you know, you could just look on the damn remote and see if there's a zoom button. Wait, seriously? Have at it then.
でも教えてあげない。おっさんとかいうやつには教えてあげない。
Or another option, open up the menu for the damn thing using a menu button and see if you can find an option for zooming in there somewhere. Fine. If you help me get this done, I'll assist you with your patch-up plan with Miss Noriko.
自分も協力しますんで。
Why?
なんだよ二人して。そこまで言うなら仕方ないな。
Why help this little troll get some teacher-student pussy? He doesn't deserve it. I didn't want to let him get into my study, so I brought a laptop to the living room. Opening the tools as the agent instructed, we were finally able to modify the screen. The accomplice of Mau, the face of the man in the khaki coat, slowly became clear.
なんとまあ。
Recognize him? She muttered with a steep look. You recognize him? No way. Surely you don't mean he's the man Usami met late last night at the harbor.
そのまさかです。急ぎましょう。
ちょっとどこ行くの？
To a bar on Central Boulevard. For a drink.
僕お酒飲めないんですけど。
What a pity. I guess our figure skating appreciation gathering ends here.
なんかよくわかんないけど、のりこ先生のことは頼むよ。
それは任せてください。邪悪な計画を練り上げておきますので。
But Usami, heroes don't come up with evil plans. Unless you're an anti-hero. We dashed out of the room. A piercingly cold wind dominated the streets.
浅井さん、車を出していただけると。
Right.
どうしました？
I staggered, letting a nearby street lamp bear my weight for a moment. I think I caught the flu. The devil flu?
大丈夫ですか？最近よく体を壊されるような気が。
I'm fine. I took my cell phone out.
どちらに電話を？
Gonzo, I'm calling for more men. We can't let him escape again.
わかりました。運転は控えた方が良さそうですね。少し休んでください。自分はタクシーでも拾っていきますんで。
Alright. Sorry about this. I'll catch up later. Just give me the address. Yep, that devil flu is certainly acting up right now. Must be the pollen. If there isn't. No, wait, this is winter. There wouldn't be. Never mind. My skull felt like it was splitting in two.
では。
But then he would be an allergy, wouldn't he? Devil allergies. Yeah, go. Usami ignored the bitter cold and dashed away. Usami's putting forth quite the effort. Now I.
もうそのバーには近づかない方がいいでしょう。
Mau's voice told him this through the receiver. Mephistopheles bunched his shoulders in the cold wind and fled Central Boulevard.
それにしても浅井カノンと暴力団がつながっているというのは本当だったんだな。
ええ、彼らは陰ながらスケート会場の警備をしていたというわけです。
連中を巻くのは簡単だった。しかしわからないのはなぜ私だと気づいたんだ。
After a short silence, Mau said,
可能性の一つとして知らず知らずのうちに人の目を引くような行動を犯してしまったとか、例えば演技中に席を立ってしまったり。
ちょっと待て、演技中に席を立つだって？
Mephistopheles nearly tripped in the middle of the road.
マナー違反なのか？
Mau suddenly clammed up. Through this reaction, Mephistopheles understood.
すまなかった。そういえば後ろの席の女に悪態をつかれたような気がする。
あなたも急いでいたのでしょう。気が回らなかった私の不注意です。
いいや、お前はきちんと指示してくれていた。紙袋を置く瞬間を誰にも覚えられてはならないと。滑走前の選手の練習中、観客が休憩している時を狙えと。
Damn it, I thought he was done talking. Mephistopheles grabbed his head and lamented his carelessness. The first step toward revolution had failed due to a trivial mistake. Mau must be similarly upset.
どうも申し訳なかった。
Mau's words shocked him speechless.
あなたを危険な目に遭わせてしまった。
There was a tugging sensation in Mephistopheles' chest. He was overcome by a warm feeling. In all these years, no one has ever apologized to him. Well, that might go to explaining a decent bit as to why you're such a shithead. Mephistopheles spoke to the large-hearted man somewhere beyond the receiver.
魔王、次の指示をくれ。
His voice was thick with loyalty. About an hour later, I arrived at the bar Usami had run to. There weren't any customers in the dark establishment. Only Usami and the Yakuza, who had already arrived, were there, surrounding and interrogating the bar owner.
わかりました。では見かけたら連絡してください。
The shop owner, currently freaked out by the Yakuza, must have figured Usami was one of them. He nodded earnestly. How's it coming? I asked Usami for her report.
残念です。もう一本のところだったのですが。逃げられました。不意に電話がかかってきたと思ったら、店を出て行ったそうです。
Did you get a name? He might have given the bar owner his card before.
それが不愛想なお客さんらしくて、自分は革命家だと名乗ったっきりで、いつも一人で飲んでるんだそうです。
A revolutionary. I said it aloud as my mind digested the information. Speaking of which, the threat letter from Mau had a sort of an idealistic feel to it. Anyway, we already know what he looks like. It's only a matter of time. Nobody can live in this city and hide from the eyes of Azai Gonzo's organization. My mother and I were found right away when we were debt dodging.
今日のところはこれまでですかね。
Usami looked unready to accept this defeat.
共犯者を見つけたところで魔王にたどり着けるのでしょうか。
You really gotta look at the silver lining here. I mean, you managed to stop not only this guy's main target, but a bunch of other innocent bystanders from dying. Yes, you didn't catch him, but Again, look at the silver lining here. No one's dead. And now you know for sure who the accomplice is. And as soon as you get Gonzo aware of this information, then you'll have a whole bunch of eyes and ears looking around for this guy. It may not be the most ideal win, but it's certainly it's certainly far from a loss, at least in my book. I understand your skepticism, but he's our only lead at the moment.
それです。
Usami spoke directly.
どこかで打開しなくては。いつまでも魔王の敷いたレールに乗っていたら、我々は地獄行きです。
I felt the need to ask this of Usami, whose grave expression worried me. Is Mao really that terrifying?
脅迫状の文面に騙されてはいけません。先日身代金を奪われたことを忘れましたか？
But that's... Let me put it this way. It was only because he had us normal citizens as opponents that his plan worked, right?
警察相手には通じないと？
Well, just look at it. We're in the same situation here. Mao continues to avoid police intervention. Usami closed her eyes and shook her head.
マジシャンは別に、マジシャンを相手に商売しているわけではありません。魔王は観客の程度というものを心得ています。つまり、我々は遊ばれているということです。
She has a point.
それが証拠に、魔王は物証には細心の注意を払っています。
The evidence trails we've had so far are the cell phone Mao gave you and the threat letter. Only 2. True, we couldn't get any clues from that throwaway cell phone.
脅迫状もそうです。
You mean that style was intentional?
すべて、万一脅迫状が警察の専門家の手に渡った場合を想定してのことです。
You mean the events that got up to handwriting analysis?
それだけではなく、言語心理学の専門家が文章から犯人の特徴を分析します。出身や国籍、性格や IQ なんかも割り出せるんだそうです。
I totally forgot about Are you kidding me? The word just left my damn mind. Occupation! Thank you, brain. Yeah, I totally forgot that this occupation even existed until you brought it up. Yeah, they're pretty cool, these psycholinguistic guys. So you're saying he's trying to play dumb?
何が芸でつながりですか？何が花紙に使わせてもらったですか？某世紀末アニメの第1話に出てくるモヒカンですら、こんなもん花紙にもなりゃしねえと言いますよね。
No, I do not. Only hardcore fans would memorize such a line. What the hell am I supposed to know about that? Then why did he handwrite it? Taking into account that the threat letter might be analyzed by the police, wouldn't it be a smart choice to just use a computer from the onset?
だからこそ私は、まず罠だと思いました。そしてこの文章には、必ず仕掛けがあるのだと。
This theory wasn't so crackpot after all. And you were right. There were traces of words on the envelope. And the murder nearly succeeded.
魔王はいずれ警察と戦うつもりなのでしょう。そうとしか思えないほど慎重です。
Then now would be the perfect time to catch Mao. Usami nodded deeply.
何のつもりかわかりませんが、魔王は私のような取るに足らない人間と遊んでくれています。その慢心につけ込む余地があればいいのですが。
No, he's not just playing with you. He's involved Gonzo in things this time.
はい。もう一度言いますが、魔王は観客の程度に合わせたマジックを用いてくるでしょう。
Meaning? Usami sighed before glaring at me with a defined sharpness in her eyes.
椿の時より大きな被害が出るということです。
Well, I guess that makes sense. I mean, we very nearly almost watched a whole freaking shop get poisoned to death. Or chemical to death, or whatever. Hello again, Kanon. Kanon, congratulations on yesterday. You made it to the finals after winning by a huge margin. You got nothing to say about that?
正直フリーがいまいちでした。
Is that it? Is it because you didn't choose a good piece?
はて、
She tilted her head.
みんなはそういうね。
Do you feel otherwise?
とにかくのんちゃんは完璧だったよ。のんちゃんは悪くないです。
Well, it's not like you can change the song at this point. You'll just have to buckle down and go for it. I'm sure she doesn't need me to tell her what she already knows.
じゃあ練習行ってきます。
Then I'll go to school myself. It seems like Kanon won't really be able to go to school until New Year's, since she'll be continually busy with various competitions.
おはようございます。
Morning. Oh, I figured you'd be taking a break from school at the moment.
この前さりげなくサボってしまったんで、本当なら例の共犯者の行方を追いたいんですが。
You know, Gonzo's so mad he's spitting fire from his eyes. I didn't know you could spit things from your eyes. This I gotta see. And yes, I know he is not being literal. He started pressuring the clubs and moneylenders under his umbrella into helping him find the guy. The ladies from the clubs are posing as hostesses and asking customers while the rest pass his photo around everywhere. With all that, he's probably too afraid to even open the door.
朗報を待ちましょう。
After reaching her seat, Usami seemed to sink into deep thought. She rested her chin on the back of her hands.
おい、京介。
Morning, mortal. Oh, Eiichi. Thanks for yesterday.
んなことより、ちゃんと約束は果たせよ。
Promise, you say?
ああ、殺す。
Kill a god? You? I'd like to see you try. Alright, we were gonna plan out the great submission to Miss Noriko. I don't think it's going to work, though. I don't either. I hear she's in love with someone.
んなことは知ってんだよ。
And you're still gonna try to pursue her. Okay. Then it's hopeless.
おめえよ。だったら、相手の野郎を殺す策を練るのがおめえの仕事だろうが。
I'm not gonna murder the hypotenuse for you. Do your own dirty work. Look, I'd have to kill half the goddamn world before she decided to pick you.
ねえ、ちょっと宇佐美さん、聞いてよ。
I don't think she'd be on board with killing half the world either. Seriously, listen to the deity in the room. I'm pretty sure I know what I'm talking about.
はい、聞いてますよ。教室に来る前に職員室に寄ってのりこ先生とお話ししてきました。今付き合って1ヶ月目だそうです。よっ。
Just give up, bro. Call it bad timing and leave it at that.
なんだよてめえら。
We're saying, give up, son! Eiichi's expression underwent a severe contortion. Half the time, it's always undergoing severe contortions. In other news, the sky is blue.
利用するだけ利用してぽいかよ。そんな程度だったのかよ、ちくしょう。
落ち着いてください、エイチさん。この度の件、誠に申し訳なく思っております。
そうだよ。邪悪な策を用意しておくって言ったのに。
Nothing can organize the chaotic mess that your plans are.
ですから、代替案を用意しました。
Oh, really?
私の友人を紹介しましょう。
Yuki, I assume?
は？何それ？
エイチさんは年上の女性がお好きですね。
まあね。
のりこ先生もそうですが、 ロングがお好きですね。
黒髪ロングがベストだね。
Yeah, I think it's gonna be Yuki.
当然身長が高い方がいいわけですね。
頭も良くなきゃダメだよ。僕と釣り合うくらい。
Well, I'd say going by first impressions, Yuki must have some kind of brain in there that can scare the pants off Usami.
なるほどなるほど。
あと世話好きじゃないとダメ。僕の話を聞いてくれる人じゃないと。
Now that little aspect about Yuki is still a mystery to me.
めちゃめちゃ聞き上手ですよ。
本当？
He's practically floating.
近々ご紹介します。それでどうかご勘弁を。
Why do I have the feeling that Eiichi's life is going to get very miserable very soon if Usami follows up on this promise?
ものによるね。君を許すかどうかは。
わかりました。ではそのうちに。よ
っしゃ、なんか期待できそうだぜ。
Only to come crashing down later on. Eiichi's mood must have improved dramatically as he lightly skipped away. Hey, Usami. About that friend of yours. Don't tell me you want to hook up Eiichi up with that model-looking chick Tokita.
はい、それが精一杯でした。
Well, she's certainly beautiful. Eiichi will probably be very happy.
だといいんですがね。
I wouldn't get your hopes up. Sounds like there's some kind of obstacle. Did you contact her?
いえ、しなきゃなぁとは思ってるんですがね。
Looks like Usami is really bad at dealing with her. So you're gonna try to hook up Eiichi with someone that you regularly have trouble dealing with. Usami, you've proven yourself to be a cut above the rest as far as intelligence goes, but I don't think this is one of your brightest plans. Anyway, hello, Tsubaki. I see you appear to be in a good mood today. Ah, Miki-chan. It's been a long time. Yeah, I'm doing well. I'm keeping busy these days. It was lunch break, and I was making a business call. There's certainly been a lot of trouble lately. Take this call, for example. We're talking about a club of which refuses to select the Azai Corporation as its preferred wine distributor. Of course, they'd be involved in distributing wine. Another group has been openly stepping onto our territory. I won't be able to avoid talking to Gonzo about it for much longer.
みんなでスケート見てたんだけどね。ヒロアキもはしゃいでたな。
Good for him. Tsubaki was as bright as ever.
いや、まったく。あの分じゃ世界は確実だな。
Look, Usami, you didn't watch a second of it.
これでも H さんから DVD 借りてみたんですよ、ゆうべ。
Is that so?
あ、椿。大事なこと忘れてたんだが、あの携帯、まだお前が持ってるよな。
携帯って、あ、うん。
I suppose she means the phone Mao gave her.
明日にでも返してくれ。
また何かあったの？
You could say that. Suddenly, dark clouds hovered over Tsubaki's face.
何もないでもないでもない。
So, translation, yes.
どっち？
Listen, Tsubaki, if you try to take Usami seriously, you're only gonna wear yourself out. Get on my level, scrubs! She looked at Usami, then me.
何かできることあったら言ってね。
Bring the phone? Despite knowing that something had happened, she still chose not to say anything. Speaking of Hiroki-kun, he's starting elementary school next year, right? Damn it. We passed the remaining time with Xiao discussion. Afternoon came before we knew it, and immediately following school's conclusion, I had an appointment with Gonzo. It's good to see you. I threw a word of greeting toward a man in a suit who seemed like a guard and stepped into the courtyard of Gonzo's estate. I had company in the yard. A bodyguard with the build of a wild beast stood a few feet away. He was as still as a statue. After I had made my salutations and sat down, Gonzo spoke.
親衛会だな。
Shinye? Are they trying to expand their territory? The Shinye group favors a militaristic approach to the Yakuza power struggle. They're one of the top organizations within the Sowa Alliance. They refuse to engage in fraud, intimidation, or coercion, and consider even drugs to be an absolute taboo. I suppose one would say that they're living in the past, since they're extremely insistent about order and loyalty and whatnot. There aren't too many of them overall, but what members they have are fiercely devoted. Naturally, they don't get along well with Gonzo's Sonoyama group, who would do anything to turn a profit.
年末に連合の老人どもを交えた集まりがある。それに向けて生きり立っているのだろう。
Geezers. I guess he's referring to the men who lead the top Sowa groups. Azai Gonzo must truly fear nothing.
損害は出ているのか。
Everything is still under control at the moment. Well, there was a drunken brawl at a bar on Central Boulevard yesterday, but we don't know whether or not it was caused by people from Shinye. My words were riddled with fear. Fear of the blank, expressionless gaze Gonzo wore.
よし。潰す。
A member of an offending group has caused trouble in an establishment controlled by our organization. An incident like this is generally resolved after the offender commits a yobitsume, a procedure wherein the man hacks off a joint of his own little finger in order to show penance. I forgot that's what that was called. However, Shinye's yet to cough up a pinky. Forgive me for speaking out of turn, but I heard an interesting rumor from an informant. He received word that a certain group within the Sowa Alliance is importing large quantities of weapons from Russia. Gonzo gave me a glare that intimidated me into silence.
奴らは100匹にも満たない。こちらは1000を超える。たとえ獲物が短期間銃を乱射しても俺は言う。まだまだ死ねえ。屍が盾になると。
So basically, if you want to be cannon fodder, your organization would probably pay top dollar for it. Got it. I could only silently nod.
お前は魔王を探せ。人も今まで通り咲く。
Understood. Everything that needed to be said has been. After parting with Gonzo and calming down, my cell phone rang. The call was from my mother. Hey. Yeah. How are you? What? Your health? That doesn't sound very good. Yes, I'll take some time to visit you. Please take care of yourself. It was a very long phone call. What a nightmare. I wish I could fly over to Mom's side right now. But Lord knows what Gonzo would have to say about that. He just demanded that I find Maul. Even if my mother's ill, there's not a damn thing I can do about it. Damn it, Gonzo. I withstood the torment of my helplessness as I sullenly trod the road home. Screw the bastard. It's your mother. And yes, I understand the weight of what I'm suggesting here, but still, you only get one mother. I got home early and ate dinner with Kanon.
どうしたの？ぼんやりして。
I was thinking about Mom. Apparently my expression betrayed my grim worries. It's possible that Kanon understood, but she didn't push the topic.
まあいいや。あのね、兄さん、聞いて。
That's the way Kanon has survived up until now. It's not because she's particularly sensitive or anything. She just doesn't want to get involved with any trouble.
のんちゃん、明日オフなのです。
You've got a break?
だから守って。
Protect you from what? Protect you? Something must be bothering her. She's pouting.
いっぱい来るの、テレビの人、雑誌の人、企業の人。なんでのんちゃんの休みとか知ってるのかな？
Probably because someone couldn't keep their damn mouths shut. Just get rid of them properly.
今の時期はさすがにお断りしてるんだよ。でも来るの。忙しいところすみません、みたいな。仕事のことじゃなくて、個人的にファンなんで、みたいな。
That's just a bit of recon before they go for the proverbial kill. So you're saying you want me to take you out?
兄さんと遊ぶの1年ぶりくらいだよ。
Damn. That long, huh? Still, I know. How could you? You really are a bad brother. Well, I guess it's not such a big deal to skip school for a day. You do it all the damn time, you would know. If you want to hang out with me, then I guess I just have to suck it up. But no making a big scene out of it.
千葉の遊園地はダメですか？
If you even get within 100 yards of that place, the tabloids will have enough material for a month.
じゃあどうするの？
Well, what do you want to do?
わかんない。
Oh, come on, don't pull this act on me. You've been practicing every day, so you've had to hold it all in, right?
たまる？何がたまるの？
You know, stress, for example. I just figured you'd want to go have some fun.
へえ。
Heh, she says. Fine then. We're just going to spend the day doing nothing. We can rent a movie.
映画ね。うん。何見る？
What do you like?
わかんない。
You don't even know what kind of movie you'd like? What is wrong with you, girl? Alright, let's watch a love story then.
やだ。
Well, I know what you don't like. Why not?
だって別に大波乱がなくても好きになるもの。思い出の約束とかなくても好きになるもの。のんちゃんはちょっと優しくしてもらえば十分好きになるよ。
I have no idea what she's talking about. Okay. How about a tearjerker then? Like those mother-daughter dramas where the mom's real sweet, but the daughter's just too spoiled to realize it?
ほうほう。じゃあそれ借りてきて。
I was just gonna suggest a Studio Ghibli film. I guess you didn't catch the implication.
じゃあ寝る。
She dove headfirst into my bed and stopped moving. Hey, would you at least change first? But there was no answer. I should get to bed early today myself. I've been catching strange colds recently. Illnesses and headaches continue to assail me. I sat alone in the dark, examining a photo. Usami, Haru. The moment I said the name, a dull ache reared its ugly head in my temple. Usami. Usami Haru, is it? I know that name all too well. Unless it's a different Usami. Beg pardon? That girl's father was the mastermind who destroyed my family. Beg pardon? Besides mom and dad, I also have 2 siblings. No. Had. One died of a heart disease soon after birth, and the other died in a terrorist attack overseas. Dad is still rotting in a dark cell, awaiting the end of his sentence. Mom's all the way in Hokkaido, tormented by mental illness. And then there's me, who discarded the Samejima name, and all it represented for the brand Azai, and the sins it implies. So I wonder, just what is happiness? Only demons exist in this world. And seeing that's the case, the best I can do is to become the lord of these demons. The devil. No, I won't think about such things. Sami's made no mention of it, so she's probably just wants to forget about the whole ordeal. Just as I have changed my name to Azai and discarded my past, Usami must have something of her own that drives her. When it's time to lay the cards on the table, will I tell her? It's been so long since I felt so sentimental. Is it because I've been thinking about such unusual things? That night, in my dreams, I saw my mother. The guilt tore at my sleep like a beast within me. Sometimes I ask myself where the turning point in my life had been. Though I never get an answer, my memory's always open to a freezing village in Hokkaido. Behind a wall as thin as paper, in a shack without double-paned windows. The wind and snow battered the roof without remorse. Mom's fingertips, nothing but weak skin wrapped around tired bones, shook violently from the frigid cold. That evening, we were held together, just as we were every day, doing our best to endure the cold and the darkness. Mom, can we run away? She shook her head lightly in response, and the bruises she'd received from that monstrous man shined black in the dim lamp.
あんまり引っ越しが続くとお友達もできないでしょ?
I can make friends anywhere.
無理しないの?
You too, Mom. Don't push yourself too hard either. Her hands gently caressed my emaciated cheekbone. Freezing winds suddenly barraged the room. I poked my head out of the quilt and saw that a bear of a man standing in the doorframe. It was Kanon.
Kousuke! 大丈夫か?
Strangely enough, he was concerned about my health. A man who had beaten me to the brink of consciousness that very day had no right to ask such a question.
すまんかったな。酒飲んでたもんで、ついな。
Shocker. Kanon sat on the floor. Kanon spread out and began to guzzle the spirit he had brought with him. And you're going to keep feeding yourself the same stuff that caused you to beat a poor defenseless child, despite knowing that's likely exactly what ended up causing it. Well, I certainly know there's absolutely no way in hell you could have gotten a B on your report cards as a child, let alone a C. As I watched him drink, after so casually intruding into the only sanctuary my mother and I held, a sense of fear welled up inside my heart. My back and waist, where he had beat me the hardest, started to burn once again.
怖いか、京介。
And
明日になったら病院に連れてってやるべ。
And why not now? If his injuries are bad enough and he's bleeding and he's seriously bleeding eternally, the longer you wait, the worse shape he could end up being. Mom spoke up. Why am I even trying to reason with someone like this?
出てってください。
すまんかったって、この通りだべ。
京介が怖がっています。
I wasn't the only one scared of him. Mom was too.
なあ、仲良くするべ。俺は京介の新しいお父さんになりたいんだわ。
That sentence may never leave me for as long as I live. Thinking about it now, Kanon was a typical violent drunk. A violent, abusive drunk. When he was sober, he played at looking for forgiveness.
少しでも反省なさっているなら、京介に温かい飲み物でも買って与えてもらえませんか？
今は吹雪だ。どこの店も閉まってる。
It was no exaggeration. The snow and wind were stronger than ever. However, the vending machine right around the corner wasn't affected in the least. Kanon took a swig from the bottle.
あったまるぞ、京介。
He pushed the bottle to me. His breath and the smell of alcohol made me dizzy.
やめてください。
いいじゃないか。親子で酒を酌み交わそうってんだ。
Mom came to my side, but Kanon brushed away her hand. He stared at me with lifeless eyes.
飲め、遠慮すんな。
Using all my strength, I closed my frozen lips. My hair stood on end. The mouth of the bottle in front of me was shining, soaked with Kanon's spit.
飲まんと母さんが困るぞ。俺たちは家族だべ。大黒柱の父親に見捨てられたら、お前ら生きていかれんべ。
Mom screamed. She protected me, trying to chase away the scary giant. I get it! I get it already! I reached out and grabbed the bottle. However, it was nearly full, incredibly heavy, and my hand slipped in surprise. With a dull sound, the bottle fell on its side. As I watched the liquid flowing out into the old, worn floor, a sound reached my ears.
お父さんの酒だべ。
As I was about to go into a defensive stance, I was yanked up by the collar.
なんま腹立つわ、京介。父さんがせっかく仲良くしようと思ったのに。
Pain, fear, and burning anger assaulted me. I couldn't hold them back anymore. What a joke! What kind of a father are you? I immediately felt myself floating in the air. My face was burning, and I was seeing stars. Mother's heartfelt screams pounded on my eardrums. My head was being held down against the floor.
なめろ、酒をなめろ。父さんのクリスマスプレゼントだべ。
Christmas. At the time, I only knew that Christmas was supposed to be a day where families share warmth and love. Come to think of it, that was indeed Christmas Day. Just where is God? I wondered, as my face was smashed against the alcohol-soaked floor. Shrieking and roaring melted into one. The walls were shaking, but not from the battering of anything as forgiving as the wind. Kanon had grabbed Mom's face and smashed it against the window. He grabbed her hair and cursed as spit flew everywhere. Violence. Again and again. Eventually, the sound of sobbing drowned the world. Was it me who was crying? Or was it my mother? Either way, I couldn't stand to watch another second. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I squeezed out one final plea with the last of my energy.
ごめんなさい、お父さん。
My heart was frozen. That was the moment all emotion within me died. My eyes fell on the snow outside the window. That snow would go on to emotionlessly cover everything, and for once, I understood its mercy. Regret, misery, everything was quick to be buried in this white, frozen world. I'm sorry, Dad. That was the moment I was reborn. My heart was already frozen to the core. I had no feelings whatsoever. One last time, I begged, apathetic. God, please save me. It was only something I muttered without thinking, but God must have heard it. Someone was bashing on the door with great force. The visitor that came, despite all that wind and snow, kicked down the door and walked in.
邪魔するぞ。
Well, he stepped in magnificently. A body immune to the elements, standing like a monster from the peaks of the snowiest mountain. Behind him, a few other men stepped in without hesitation. There wasn't a single coat among them. Their pitch-black suits were covered with snow.
逃げられると思ったが。
Those cold eyes looked toward my mother. Even as young as I was, I understood that they were here to collect our debt.
なんだ、てめえらは。
Kanu's eyes opened wide.
てめえこそなんだ。頭に向かって何上等な口聞いてんだ。
Suddenly, one of the men in suits scowled.
こちらのお方はな。
おい。
After the large man, who seemed to be the leader, shot him a glance, the man beside him apologized and shut up.
あんたら、ヤクザもんか。
The savior at the door had a very similar build to Kanu. However, the air that radiated from him was so different that it was visible at first glance.
てめえはこの親子のなんだ。俺はなんでもない他人だ。
I suppose that was the limit to his fatherly love.
払え。こいつらが払えない分をてめえが少しでも払え。ちょっと待てよ。俺は関係ねえって。
The next moment, Kanu's head snapped back. A fist had smashed into his face. He didn't even have time to squeal like a pig before his ears had been twisted torturously. Serves you right.
俺が誰だか知りたいか。そうか。
He used his other hand to retrieve a card from his front pocket.
やめてくれ。
He pressed a corner of the card into Kanu's ear, laughing coldly. Kanu's eyes were rolling back in his head.
よーく聞け。
Rolling the card into a thin stick, he jammed it into Kanu's ear. Strange alien sounds echoed around the room. So, who are you? Fear An exhalation finally slipped out of my mouth. Kanon, who had been a mountainous obstacle to my mother and I, had just been silenced in an instant. It wasn't an angel who descended to my aid, but a demon.
Sarai.
The demon didn't even seem to see me. He just ordered his henchmen around. Hands gripped me from all sides, dragging me away. Wait! I'll do anything! Anything! My pleas must have annoyed the men surrounding me, as they struck me. Strangely though, despite being hit by a punch, I didn't feel any pain. Please, tell me! An incredible might. Please, let me join you! The scenery of a poor school, some place I struggled to day in, day out without a single friend, suddenly floated before my eyes. As long as I follow this man, no one will ever scorn me again. No one will scorn me ever again. I'll have the power to protect Mom. My fear was gradually ebbing as anticipation thoroughly flushed it away. Without a doubt, I was getting carried away. They threw me to the ground and stepped on me, but I didn't feel any pain. At the time, my face must have been filled with a pitiless light of sincere prayer to God. Finally, the demon spoke.
金を返せるか?
Money?
大金だ。
I'll pay it.
嘘つきだな、貴様は。
Sorry?
借金がいくらなのかも知らんくせによく言う。
I'm sorry.
嘘をついても構わんが、嘘が発覚したときは許さんぞ。
Alright.
俺の群れに加わりたいだと。
Yes, please.
なら、母親を置いて俺と来い。
Leave Mom? There's no way I could do that.
その女はしばらく札幌にでも送る。どのみちお前らは一緒には暮らせない。
That unanswerable statement stopped me dead in my tracks.
お前もどうせどこかの施設に預けられる。
The demon's words were absolute in my ears. I believed sincerely that whatever future he saw for me was indeed my destiny. Mom. Our eyes met. As I think back, my face must have been a spectacle of submission and exhaustion. Mom. That thin neck could only shake slightly, silently, to show her fear at losing me. Our unending tragedy already had her at her limits, and I was at mine as well. I could no longer turn back. Take me away, I beg you. Hearing this, a cold laugh came from the demon's thick lips.
母親を捨てたか。
I'm not abandoning her.
お前は物になりそうだ。
No, I swore in my heart. I'm definitely not abandoning her. Having made my decision, I closely followed Azai Gonzo's back. I'll come and get you, I swear. This was the promise I made that day as I walked away from my mother. I never followed through on that promise. Instead, I followed Gonzo through the long, hard years. When I finally had a strong enough financial base to live with Mom, I asked her about it. But I couldn't force a mentally ill woman to leave a place she feels safe in just to bring her home with me. The doctor told me that because Mom had been forced to move so many times, she was absolutely refusing to leave the place she lives at now. All I can do is give her a call once or twice a week and spend the odd long vacation with her in Hokkaido. She's my only relative. No, I also have a father, Azai Gonzo. Yet a question always lingered in my heart. Why did Gonzo make me his foster son? There's a rumor that it allowed Gonzo, Sonoyama's underboss at the time, to impress the head honchos of Sowa. Taking in a poor kid with no blood relation was a show of valor. Perhaps he just used me in order to move up the Yakuza ladder. Lord knows Gonzo doesn't care about valor or honor. In any case, I lived away from my mother, and I could never bring myself to stand up to Azai Gonzo, the most powerful lord of Tomenbetsu City's organized crime. If only Gonzo would allow it, I could live closer to Mom. If only. I know I've said it before, and while I still think that in a lot of ways you're an asshole, your childhood sucks, Kyosuke. Or sucked, rather. Well, sucks because you're still technically in school. Whatever, you know what I'm trying to say. Well, it's been over 2 hours, so you know what? I think I'm going to go ahead and cut things off here. And this feels like a good place as any to stop it. So, yeah. I do wonder, though, if by the next time we come back to this, if we're going to see more trouble from Mephistopheles and Maul. Probably. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this latest episode of The Devil on G-String. If you did and you want to see more content from me, feel free to subscribe to my channel. I will see you all next time. Take care.